What is up, guys? Delboy here. So Teofimo Lopez knocks out Edis Tatli in 5 rounds with a right hand to the body. Edis Tatli, of course, being a former European champion and also a former world title challenger. I felt this was a good bit of matchmaking by Top Rank. You know, Edis Tatli was a level above Diego Magdaleno and Mason Menard. I felt it was a good step up, and Teofimo Lopez done the business. He got the knockout win in 5 rounds, and, you know, for the most part, he looked pretty good. You know, I said before this fight, if Teofimo knocked out Tatli early on, I would be impressed, and he did so. I think this was an impressive display of offense and power, and yeah, I felt it was a good performance, in all honesty. First 3 rounds, Teofimo was in control. He was the guy forcing the fight. He was trying to land his big power shots, that big right hand, those big hooks. He was trying to go to the body as well. You know, he was loading up and, really putting pressure on Edis Tatli. I felt Lopez kind of struggled with Tatli's herky-jerky movement at times. You know, Tatli had like a high guard and he was moving rather excessively. He was bouncing on his feet, he was moving his head, and at times I felt Lopez's timing was slightly off due to the awkward nature of his opponent. Nevertheless, he still won those rounds clearly, but the style of Tatli definitely gave Lopez a few new things to think about, and that's good when it comes to matchmaking. That's what you want to do with your prospects. Each fight, you want to put them in there with different styles, and, you know, Tatli is the type of fighter Lopez hasn't fought to date. And yeah, he looked a bit ropey in the first 2 to 3 rounds, but, you know, I felt he handled Tatli, even early on, fairly impressively, to be honest. And I've heard a couple of people online critique Lopez's performance, and I think that's more down to the fact they don't really know who Tatli is. But, you know, for me, he was fairly impressive early on. He clearly won the first 3 rounds. He did get caught with a few shots here and there. You know, he got caught with some silly jabs, he got caught with some right hands. But like I said, he won the first 3. And in round 4, I felt Lopez really picked up the pace. He increased his output. He closed the distance a bit quicker. His hands were quicker. And he was showing more variety in his work. He hurt Tatli in round 4 towards the end of a round with a right hand. And it really backed Tatli up. Lopez jumped right on him, trying to get the stoppage, but Tatli saw out round 4 like a good survivor. But in round 5, Teofimo Lopez ended the fight with a right hand to the body of Tatli. Lovely straight right to the body. Tatli dropped to the floor and he couldn't get up. You know, the shot took a lot out of him, and that was all she wrote. For me, an impressive performance from Teofimo Lopez. And in my opinion, Lopez has gone from prospect to contender. When you're knocking out former European champions and world title challengers in 5 rounds, that's a good look, and it probably means you're at a fairly high level already. I think Lopez now is on the verge of a world title shot. And, you know, some people out there will say it's too early, but at the end of the day, after this fight, I'm sure he's going to be highly ranked. I believe he's already highly ranked in the WBC. Teofimo has a lot of ambition. He says he wants to fight everybody. So, listen, irrelevant if he has 13 fights or not, his last 3 wins have been impressive. And he's saying he wants these fights. He's knocking people out. Put him in there with a Lomachenko or a Richard Comey. Let's see what this kid has. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. You know, I like his confidence, I like his attitude. I know he's going to rub people up the wrong way, but for me, this is how I see it. If you're talking ish and you're not doing anything in return, that's when I get annoyed. But if you're talking ish and you're willing to fight anybody, listen, talk that shit. I'm fine with it. And Lopez, to me, he seems sincere when he says he wants to fight the best. I just get that impression from him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just name-dropping and clout-chasing. Potentially, yeah. But I think he comes across as fairly authentic and fairly sincere. So yeah, I've got no problem if Lopez gets a title shot next. He's asked for it basically. But if I was his promoter or a matchmaker or his agent, manager, whatever, before jumping in there with a Lomachenko or even a Richard Commey, I would have Lopez have one more fight before fighting for a world title, and I would make Lopez fight somebody like maybe Jose Pedraza, again another big step up, a former 2-weight world champion. You know, that could be a good look for Lopez. If Lopez knocked out Pedraza and looked half decent, then at that point there's no denying he's ready for a world title shot. So I would like to see Lopez maybe have one more fight in the interim against somebody like Pedraza, maybe even against a guy like Felix Verdejo. Felix Verdejo obviously at one point was a highly touted prospect. He did have a setback in his career where he picked up a shock loss, but he won on the same card as Lopez, so maybe you could have Lopez versus Verdejo. I think that fight makes a lot of sense also. So if I was managing Lopez, I would have him fight one more fight in the interim before he challenges for a world title. But as a fan, I've not really got any preference. If he fights for a world title next, yeah, it may be slightly too early, but, you know, he's a good fighter. He's a powerful puncher, and he comes to fight. But, yeah, share your thoughts below. Tell me your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez versus Edis Tatli, and where do you want to see Lopez go next? Share your thoughts below. Peace.